and I am so glad that we finally got to hook up. I have got one of my best friends from high school, Crystal Laughlin Merch. How you doing?
I'm doing great, George. Great to see
Welcome,
you again.
welcome, and we're going to have some fun
We are. We are.
today.
I just have one request.
Sure.
It's April Fool's Day. No shenanigans. I haven't slept for 48 hours, so that just puts me at a real disadvantage. So
Well,
I'm asking for a little leniency.
okay, I guess, but that's not my nature.
I know. I know. That's why I put that out there first.
Always the practical joker. Uh,
Yeah.
Love to have fun, but actually, you have got a boatload of stuff going on, girl.
I do. I do. I'm a busy, busy lady.
And
And I love it that way.
you know, we've been talking back and forth on Facebook and stuff,
Uh-huh.
and um, I was just amazed at some of the stuff that's going on. But I'm going to let you dive into some of that here in a little bit. But you know, I'm kind of I'm kind of upset
Yeah.
about the county commission over in Calhoun not wanting to work with the foundation. That kind of upsets me a little bit. Is there any headway in that yet?
Seemingly not. We'll know on April 19th for sure. But we've done all that we can do, and we've been working at it now for almost 9 months.
Yeah. Well, I
And
know they've thrown everything out there that they could possibly throw. Saying that it's going to cost the county this, it's going to cost this. What's it going to cost?
it's going to cost the county absolutely nothing.
Exactly.
This is a philanthropic gesture. And I think it'd be helpful if I kind of explained how we arrived at that.
Exactly.
So
And that's
let me,
what I wanted you to do.
yeah, let me catch you up on the last 40 years, George.
Right.
So, um, well, 7 days after I graduated from high school,
Right.
I left. I got married. I married my childhood sweetheart, and he's the father of my children and still one of my best friends in the world. Lives right across the road from me. And we left. And we knew that there weren't opportunities here for us, as many of us did,
Exactly.
right? And, I've had the pleasure of meeting Brad Smith, who just moved back as well and is the president of Marshall. And Brad tells a story of he spent 18 years trying to get out of West Virginia and the next 40 trying to get back.
Right.
And while our stories are very similar, mine's different in that I didn't want to leave.
Right.
I didn't have another opportunity to stay here and to pursue my dreams.
Exactly.
So I left, and the longer I was gone, the more doubtful it was that I would ever return because my career grew and grew, and I was working with large multinational companies, living all over the world, working all over the world, traveling literally 90% of the time, which sounds quite glamorous, and it's completely exhausting, and there's nothing glamorous about it. But and then at the point where I left industry and started my own company, which was also a real milestone in my life. I never really considered that. I thought, I'm a corporate woman. I'm your corporate gal. I got the suits, I got the shoes, I got the briefcase, I got the suitcase, all in black, mind you, because I worked for a Swiss company, and it all had to be black. You couldn't have any colors.
Exactly.
And I'm like, I like what I do, and I'm an executive, and that's what I always do. But lo and behold, really at the heart of it, I'm a change leader, and the perfect job for the change leader is an entrepreneur.
Right.
Right. So I have essentially become a serial entrepreneur, and I started my first venture 10 years ago this year.
Wow.
And we started the company up with each partner put in $12,000. We were cash flow positive from day one. Our first contract was $12 million. My hand was literally shaking signing that contract.
I bet.
Yeah, and we built relationships for those first 25 years while we were in business, and we provided quality services and quality products, and our business has grown extraordinarily across that time frame. And we developed an amazing software technology product called Virtuosi that uses virtual reality to train people in the pharmaceutical industry. So we have done a lot of things, and now we're on to our next venture of American Medicines Company, where we'll actually be manufacturing medicines.
Yeah, that's exciting.
Oh, it's
I
hugely
can't wait
exciting.
to get into that a little bit.
It's hugely exciting. So that's a little bit of kind of what the last 40 years have been like. But about, I would say 3 years ago, I started, or 4 years ago, I started reconnecting with some of my classmates. And I will tell you this, I felt extraordinarily guilty because I came back and I just saw the state of Calhoun, right? And I was never on Facebook, so I got on Facebook to connect specifically with the folks in Calhoun. And I don't do any personal business and professional business on Facebook or professional connections. It's all with Calhoun. And I just saw the commentary and how hopeless, for lack of a better word, the discussion was.
Yeah.
And it just tore at my heart. And I didn't think that there was anything I could do. I lived in Atlanta. I traveled a lot. With our consulting business, we still travel quite a bit.
Right.
And
live out of suitcases.
Live out of suitcases, yeah. And I'm managing a large, multi-million-dollar business, and busy doing that, right?
Exactly.
Developing software products. It's a busy time. But the more I talked to people and the more I saw, I started thinking about, I'd really like to put some sort of facility in Arnold'sburg for the kids, right? And I thought about that for a while, and it never really materialized anywhere. And then when the school came up for sale, I literally got messages from probably 20 people. Crystal, the school's for sale. Crystal, the school's for sale. I'm like, what would I do with that school? Because I'd seen the state of the school, right?
Right.
And,
we all have.
Right, correct.
And, many a day have I cried.
Yeah,
yes.
Correct. And, so I am like, and Teresa's like, what are you going to do? And Teresa's my friend and, longtime associate and my partner in our business. She works for me. And so she said, so what are you going to do? Are you going to buy it? I'm like, no, what would I ever do with it? There's no commercial viability for a piece of property that size in Calhoun County. And so the longer it went on and on. And then she comes to me and she says, oh, the school's been sold. And I very calmly said, well, what do you mean sold? I said, is it sold or is it under contract? She said, no, it's under contract. I said, well, it's not sold yet. So, and I still didn't have any idea because I knew there's nothing commercially work.
Right.
And so time went on. 6 weeks later, I got a call from the real estate guy, and he said, well, they're entertaining other offers because the folks who were going to buy it, who were going to put the CBD marijuana place in there, couldn't get organized. Now, who would have predicted that, George?
Exactly.
Right. So I said, okay, we'll pull it together. So we formed the foundation in 3 days, and bought the property. And at that same time, the whole idea of this nonprofit organization came to mind. It was like, it doesn't have to be commercial.
Right.
It can be nonprofit, because all I want to do is serve the people of the county, in particular the kids.
Exactly.
Right? So it's the perfect model for it. And what we heard yesterday from the West Virginia Chamber Women's Leadership Summit, folks are like, this is going to be the model in West Virginia. What you guys are doing there is amazing.
It's not only the model in West Virginia, but there's other states
Sure.
that are following your lead on this.
There's a lot of opportunity.
Yes.
Right, particularly in disadvantaged areas in Appalachia. But I will tell you this, I haven't had people come up to me before, representing Calhoun County, saying you guys are going to be leading this and setting the standard. I mean, I could not have been more proud. Women with tears in their eyes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, when I came over in October for the kickoff and the launch of everything, I was just an emotional wreck the whole day. I mean, it was so good to see people out, and they just kept coming.
Yes.
They kept coming, and then when we did the Christmas parade and the big giveaway at Christmas time, Drew and myself and Amy, we had a blast while we were over there. And once again, I was an emotional basket case on the way back home.
Yeah, there's been a few times like that for sure, right? And like when I was putting together that collage of pictures of kids of this is why we do this and this is why it matters.
Yes.
I definitely had tears in my eyes doing that when you see the looks on their faces and
the joy and
and they're looking at the Christmas tree or they're looking at the parade or they're making pumpkins, and my thought is, when you and I were growing up, there were a whole lot of people who extended themselves way beyond what they ever got paid to do,
exactly,
or probably even had the energy or time to do.
The best saying that I've ever heard in my lifetime is it takes a village. And when we were growing up, that's the way it was.
That is the way it was.
I mean, our neighbors was as hard on us as our parents were.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Always. I mean, if we were in the wrong, we were going to get called out on it.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely we were. And the 4-H leaders and the teachers and the church leaders and all of these people who invested, countless hours, the extension agent Sue Jones and Randall Jones in our county, if they calculated their hourly pay, it's probably less than 20 cents an hour with the time they invested. And the same thing for our teachers. Like you and I were just talking about band.
Exactly.
John McKinney.
Yeah.
He wasn't making any money. He,
nope.
In band camp.
John McKinney, Jack Downs, all of them.
All of those guys.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, they gave so much of their own free time.
Yeah.
And, but back during that time frame, the time that they gave was well used because we took it and ran with it.
Yeah, we did. And I guess what I observed when I started interacting with the conversation and seeing the conversations in social media is, of course, I was hearing when I first came back, people in Calhoun are apathetic. I heard it about 10 times.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I can't square that in my mind with my experience in Calhoun. Because, what I know of people and growing up here, I wouldn't describe any one of them as apathetic, meaning that people don't care.
Yeah.
That's not the case. The situation is that the people have lost hope.
Yes.
Because they have been put in a corner, they've been told no, they've been put at arm's length and not had transparent information provided to them.
Exactly.
Therefore, they have said, okay, I'm not going to waste my time in this. That's far different than apathy.
Exactly.
Right? So, and that's why we've seen such a huge engagement in this revitalization of Calhoun County, because what I've known and what you knew of the people of Calhoun, that heart's still there.
Exactly.
And it will not be extinguished.
Hooner pride.
Hooner pride.
Hooner pride is yes.
Yep. It will not be extinguished. Well, what does my shirt say? It's a lady red devil kind of love, right?
Yep.
You wouldn't understand.
That's exactly it. That's exactly it.
Yeah.
But, I mean, as you saw, I got a little emotional there.
Yeah.
But that Hooner pride,
yeah.
That's what it is.
Yeah, and it just needed to be opened up and dusted off.
Yep.
And because those people who grew up with us, we were all raised by the same kind of people. Our neighbors watched out.
Yep.
And so they experienced that. They weren't afraid to go and make their voice heard. My mother-in-law's probably spent more time in the principal's office than Board of Education than anybody at that time, right?
That's it.
Expressing what she wanted as far as an education for her daughter.
Exactly.
And it made a difference. And I think folks realize now that, yeah, they can have a difference, and they just needed a little encouragement and a little bit of confidence building. But we have an amazing team that is working with the 1982 Foundation. There are other teams who have developed that are looking at different aspects of county revitalization, county cleanup, focus on the kids.
Matter of fact, class of '80.
Yes.
We're coming in there tomorrow.
Yeah, I heard. I
Yeah.
heard. I
Yeah.
heard. I heard. So that's exciting, and that's a wonderful way to get back together with classmates, right?
Exactly. We'll have some fun with that.
Yes.
Meeting down at Mom's Place too tomorrow morning
Yep.
at 9 a.m. And Lisa Cooper's got things all squared away and ready to go. So she's going to tell us where we're going to go. She's pretty good at that. She's told me where to go a few times.
Yes, yes. And you can see a lot of pride developing. So, like,
Yeah.
I came through Arnoldsburg coming back from my long and exhausting day yesterday, and there was a house that had burned about maybe in January.
Yeah.
And that rubble was being removed already.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Good.
Yes.
Good.
So you can see people taking action, and it's just, and I, you know, my heart also breaks for that. So, you know, over my 40 years away, I did discover a whole lot about who I am and what really drives my energy and my passion. And I have a passion for the underdog.
Right.
And just a quick story on how I realized that.
We always did. All of us
Always did. But I have it and probably it's because of being at the bottom of the list.
Yes.
Right? Calhoun, the bottom of the list. West Virginia, that's at the bottom of the list.
Right.
So, but I always had a real passion for it, and really to an extent that I didn't really understand until I was about 42 years old. And the way it came to light was we were at a rodeo out in Cheyenne. It's called Cheyenne Days. It's this massive rodeo. And we're watching calf roping. You know, the calves come out, the cowboys lasso their legs, and whoever does it the fastest wins. So we're watching this. There's probably 4,000 people in the stadium. And after about the 6th or 7th time through, and the place was just going mad. I mean, just people cheering, having fun. And my husband leans over and he goes, Crystal, you're making a bit of a spectacle out of yourself. I'm like, what do you mean? Everybody's cheering and going crazy. He said, they are, but you're the only one cheering for the calf. So I didn't even realize it. So I was the only one standing up when the calf got away, going, go, 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 and then clapping if it got loose. That's how deep it is in my fiber. Once I realized that, then things got a lot more clear for me.
Yeah. But, you know, we were talking there a little bit ago.
Yeah.
When I came back 11 years ago, you know, came back to the area, not only in Calhoun, but in Gilmer and, you know, the surrounding counties, Roane County as well, Work County. I mean, it's just, you know, everything was totally different.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, the pride that you saw from all those counties actually was down quite a bit. I know in Roane County, that pride has come back up quite a bit. Calhoun is on its way back up, and Gilmer County is definitely on its way back up. Work County is hurting still, but I think what the 1982 Foundation is doing is not going to only benefit the people in Calhoun, it's going to benefit the whole area. And it'll give those other people a little bit of something to look forward to as well.
Yeah, well, we're certainly hoping so. And we're, you know, the community center, while it's really focused on the kids at Calhoun, we want it to be really a day trip attraction as well, with the retail spaces, right?
Right.
And with recreational opportunities on the river. So we do think it'll have a big economic impact on the surrounding counties.
And on the main structure of the old school, let's kind of give people an up-to-date, level by level, what is expected.
Sure, happy to. So The main structure is about 26,000 square feet, and we want to keep it as original to the structure from 1921 as possible.
Right.
We're pursuing the National Historic Register and also tax credits associated with that. So on the top floor would be, there'll be 8 Airbnb suites. One of those will be a 4-bedroom suite, the others will be single bedrooms. So we'll have a total of 12 bedrooms, 8 suites. We'll maintain, of course, the hardwood floors throughout. So these rooms will be absolutely just stunning.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. The main suite, which will be the library,
Right.
will have a living area, then the 4-bedroom, bathroom, ensuite, a kitchen, and then we're hoping if we can get it through the Historical Society to blow out that wall and take a big patio that goes out onto the top of where Mr. Verdon and Mr. McKee's classrooms were. So
Right.
you have this massive patio that could be used for wedding receptions, that, overlook the back of the school and would just be beautiful. So that's the top floor. The second floor would be the primary community center floor. So that's where there'll be classrooms for summer camps, after-school programs, Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, 4-H, AA meetings, anything that the community needs as far as meeting space
Right.
would be there, and our administrative offices. And then on the bottom floor would be retail and office space for lease, as well as a business incubator. So in conjunction with the Little Kanawha area economic development leader Sheila Birch, Sheila's going to be putting in a business incubator that focuses on helping businesses, regardless of where they're at in their life cycle, from startup to scale up to mature businesses to people wanting to exit their business, right?
Right.
With helping them connect with the right support they need from a legal standpoint, accounting, tax, and just basic business services, right? So we're already kind of starting some of that work with some of the businesses in Calhoun who have engaged with us to say, hey, we're at this particular stage, we've done well in our startup, and now we need to look at inventories and what makes sense of, how do we get capital for inventory, and those are things that that's what I've done that's my day job, right?
Exactly, that's your day job.
So we are pleased that folks are seeing that there's value in this, and it confirms the concept that Sheila has had for quite some time now about bringing this incubator to fruition. So I think it's going to be a huge asset to the community, and I think that we're going to get a lot of growth out of it. Last year, Calhoun County was 14th as far as new businesses established.
Right.
And that's pretty good because we're competing with some tough competition.
Right.
Right. So you've got counties like Tucker and Summers and Fayette and those folks who are really highly leveraged in the recreational spaces that are at the top. But the fact that Calhoun was in the top 15 is a big deal, and that tells me that people have an interest in entrepreneurship.
Right.
And that's really what is going to save West Virginia. There may be some big businesses coming. I know one that's coming.
Yes.
But, there's not that many big businesses here. So it's going to be a small, local type business economic environment that really allows us to prosper.
Exactly. Your small businesses, back when we were growing up,
Yeah.
Calhoun was littered with mom and pop shops, is what I always called them.
Mm-hmm.
And, they were all prosperous.
Yes.
Every one of them.
Yes.
There's very few left.
Very few.
And, like I said, when I came back 11 years ago and was driving up the West Fork for,
Mm-hmm.
one time, a lot of the different stores that used to be littered up and down Route 16 there
Right.
were no longer
Correct.
there. And it just like, wow, what a change.
Yeah.
You know, because every little community used to
Mhm.
have their own little
Mhm.
store.
Right. Or stores. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or stores. Yeah. And, you know, I mean, Arnold'sburg, another good example. You
Yeah.
had Carter's store there and Brandon's Exxon, and
Right.
you know, I mean, there was a lot of
Mhm.
little businesses
Yeah.
throughout the county scattered, and a lot of them are gone by the wayside now.
Right.
But over the past couple years, I have seen, you know,
Mhm.
people that are jumping in there and
Mhm.
throwing their hat in the ring and they're giving it a try.
Yeah.
And it seems like it's working.
Yeah. It does. It does, and it's very exciting to see that, and particularly with you know um, the younger generation getting into it early.
Yes.
That is really really exciting.
Yes, and it is very
Yeah.
exciting with the younger generation being
Yeah.
motivated to give it a try.
Yeah.
And it it's a good thing.
Yeah. Yeah. It totally is. Yeah.
But also on the community center,
Uh-huh.
one of the one of the best things that I think is in the plans there is the daycare center.
Oh yes, 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 yes.
That is so much needed.
Yes.
And it can help in so many different avenues. How many children is that going
Yes.
to be able to
So
support?
let me tell you about the new addition, right?
Okay.
So we talked about the main building. Let's talk
Right.
about then the addition onto the gymnasium. So we will maintain the gym as is.
Right.
That's 10,000 square feet.
Right.
And then there's going to be another approximately, I want to say, 15 to 18,000 square feet of new structure. Of that, about probably 8,000 square feet is going to be a children's center.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it's significant, and it's
Yeah.
going to have a beautiful front, and the front of the child care center, the roof line mimics the roof line of the main building.
I saw that.
Yes.
Yes.
And then the rest will be glass and steel, and so it's kind of integrating the old with the new. There'll be 4 classrooms. There'll be a nursery that will serve 8 infants. There'll be hopefully a Head Start. We've had great interactions with Head Start. They love the concept of having Head Start there in Calhoun for 3-year-olds, which is missing right now.
Mm-hmm.
And that would host 16 children. And then there'll be 2 other classrooms that host 16 children each. Then there'll be a lunchroom that will service the children. There'll be a playground area immediately adjacent to the child care center, so they all have outside play area as well.
Right.
So then they'll have, of course, access to the gym.
Right. That's great.
Yeah.
I was excited when we were talking back in October. Some of the plans that had been discussed at that point, and that was one of the big things that stuck out in my mind, saying this has been needed for so many years.
Yes.
And we've not had it.
I know, and I shared that at the women's conference yesterday, that there's not a single daycare in the county. There are, I think, 2 homes that can keep up to 6 children each, but there's no daycare service whatsoever. Right. The other thing I learned yesterday was that the legislature just passed a bill that provides for tax credits for daycare centers. So we'll also be able to hopefully take advantage of that and then fund the actual startup of what we need for supplies for it with
That's
those tax
great.
credits, right? So that was wonderful news too. Other things in the new addition will be a fitness center. So because we've never had a fitness center,
No.
people will be able to come, work out, get on a treadmill, pump a little iron, do what they want to do.
We had a fitness center for a brief,
Okay.
just a brief moment,
Okay.
like back in the mid '80s.
Okay.
But it didn't last long.
Okay. So we'll have that. We'll also have the Happy Soup Cafe and the Farm to Table Market. So the cafe will provide. We want to provide healthy food options that are things that are grown locally and really specialize in different type of soups and healthy options that go along with soup. And then the farm to table market will be a place where folks can bring, their canned goods. They can bring vegetables. They can bring meats. They can bring anything they want to bring. Right? Those get sold, and as on a commission, and then they make money, and there's money that then goes back into, providing the operational support for that.
Right.
But primarily it's for folks to be able to sell those wonderful things that they make homemade, and because that's such a special skill that we have in this particular region, right? The women who can home goods are
jellies and
yes,
just anything that you can possibly imagine. I mean,
and now ramp butter is the new thing, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, so I think, and I think when you bring that all together, and we combine it with the fact that we're right there in front of some of the best muskie and small bass fishing in the state,
exactly.
Right? We'll be able to put a dock there. We'll be able to bring people in for day trips. We also want it to have a big historical element, and some weekends in the summer we'll probably do some history of Calhoun type weekends. I want to introduce it this fall with our fall picnic like we had last year, and do a history and heritage day where people can have apple butter making demonstrations. We can hear the history of who immigrated to Calhoun County, have professional storytellers come and tell the story. The history of the Civil War in Calhoun County, the history of the oil and gas boom, some ghost stories, all of those wonderful things that have happened here and that we hear kind of from time to time, but nobody brings together into one big kind of festival.
Those history storytelling, I hope that they touch on some of the communities that are no longer in Calhoun, that have just fallen by the wayside, that was during the oil and gas booms, like Richardsonville,
right?
Some of the other,
right. That's an excellent point. That's an excellent point. I was in Creston a couple weeks ago, and you can tell that was a major place.
It was a
right?
major metropolis.
Right.
At one point.
Yes, at one point, and like I want to go back and just look at the architecture there, of some of those homes that were built and study that a bit more. But and it's a beautiful place.
Yeah. And there's some beautiful older homes in Grantsville as well.
Are.
So and in Arnoldsburg and up on the West Fork, different places back up in there too. So I mean, there's all kinds of different avenues that they could actually touch base with.
Sure. Yep. Absolutely.
So that's exciting.
Yes. And music, right? We want to have, bluegrass and the different types of music and arts that this area is known for, and that there's a market for, right? People will come to see that.
Yes.
And it has value, and the folks here should be able to, make a living with their skill set because it has value.
Right. And speaking of music, on the next month, not next month, it is this month now.
Yes.
We are doing a revitalization of the Follies.
Yes, indeed.
Can't wait for that.
Yes, indeed.
Can't wait for that.
Well, I went to the first meeting and they were looking for bases, and your name came up. And
I'm here.
Yeah.
I'm here, and I have got to get my paper over there, but we're so busy with ball games and stuff. I just can't make it to practices. So,
they already have your name.
Okay. But I plan on doing. This is something that was kind of near and dear to me. The last time that I ever performed in the gym was at the 1982 Follies.
Oh, really?
Came in there that night for the first night, and Charlie walked up to me and he said, Bruce and I were standing there talking. My brother from a different mother, we were standing there talking, and Charlie come up
Bruce.
to me. Bruce Jones.
Bruce Jones. I assume that's who you're talking about. Yeah.
My brother from a different mother.
Yeah.
You know, you saw one of
Yes.
us, you saw us both.
Right.
But, you know, we were standing there talking, and Charlie walked up to me and he said, "Hey, I was supposed to have a couple people doing a solo at a couple different places, but they backed out." And he said, "It's during a costume change. Can you guys put something together for me?" I looked at Charlie and I said, "Well, Uncle Charlie," I said, "how much time we got?" 20 minutes. Bruce said, "Come on, let's go." He grabbed his guitar and upstairs we went.
Yeah.
And we sat down
What'd you do?
we sat down for a couple minutes and put a couple songs together. So the very last song that I did that night, well, I did it all 3 nights,
Yep.
but the last song each night was a song that David Bush wrote. I don't know if you remember David or not.
Mm-mm.
He was the assistant choir director under Joe Wilt.
Okay.
And David wrote a song called West Virginia Day.
Mm.
That was the very last song that I ever performed in the gym. And it was miraculously at the 82 Follies.
Wow.
So I thought, what better song
Right.
to do
Right. That'd be
as
wonderful.
a solo?
Yeah. Is Bruce in on it?
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh,
good.
yes. I've got to have my guitar player.
Right.
But he's excited and ready to go.
Oh, excellent.
And, you know, I sent him a message when this was first brought up that they were planning to do it. I said, "Are we in?" He said, "Yep, let me know what we're doing."
Okay, good. And I hope you guys can come from WVRC
Oh,
because there'll be people from
we-
all over want to see it.
we plan on being there about noon.
Okay.
Drew and I have talked about it. We're going to try to be there about noon and just spend the day.
Excellent. And we're hoping to have some special dignitaries. We've invited the governor.
I heard that.
So we're waiting to hear back from him. And we're going to have the mayor of Buchanan's going to come and talk a little bit about what they've done in Buchanan to revitalize there. They've done an amazing job.
Amazing.
Yes, amazing. So, yeah, and I'm not sure who else we're going to have, but we're definitely hoping that the governor can make it.
Yes. How about Baby Dog? Baby Dog.
Well,
coming?
Baby Dog will be there, I'm sure.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But you
And
know.
you'll get to meet Cordelia,
Oh yes, yes, your new addition.
my new addition.
I look forward to seeing what the next post is going to be.
Yes, right.
But no, it is just, you know, everything is just amazing. I'm glad to see that the class of '82 stepped up and said, "Hey, let's do this."
Yeah.
And it's not like it's just a handful. It's
No.
like your whole class.
It's a lot of people,
You know, they're coming from everywhere.
and not just our class.
I know there's
Yeah.
other people as
Yeah,
well, but
yeah.
but I mean, your
I mean,
class is
yeah.
really devoting a lot of time into this,
Yes.
and I take my hat off to each and every one of them.
Yeah.
And of course,
Yeah.
I wouldn't expect anything less because, you know, you guys were great in your time. You know, when you were juniors and seniors. That was a great class. I mean, you guys stuck together. Whether it was right or wrong, you stuck
Right.
together.
That's right. We did. And, you know,
Kind of like the class of '80.
yeah, kind of. But it's, you know, I definitely want to stress this is not an '82, project.
No.
You know, the 1982 Foundation encompasses anybody
Everybody.
who wants to be a part of it, right?
Well, you know,
Yeah,
I
we just
reached
had
out
to have
to
a
you.
name.
I reached out to you
Yeah.
the minute that I
Yeah,
had
yeah.
heard about it and said, "Hey, I want to be part of this."
Right, exactly,
So,
exactly.
you know, I mean,
And well, and from our class standpoint, you know, we were a little odd, and you know, we graduated in blue gowns. I don't know if you remember that, right? So it was a big drama, and then the Chronicle, the week after we graduated, we were um, cited as the most disgraceful class to ever walk the stage. So 40 years later, we decided we want to redeem ourselves and do something good.
And
right?
I think it's a wonderful project that everybody is
Yes.
undertaking.
Yes, but it tells you something too, right? So a class, for whatever reason, and I don't know why, I do know that I was instrumental in the blue gown concept, but for whatever reason, we chose to be different,
Yes.
right? And that was 40 years ago.
Right.
And now here we are, all this time later, and we're still that same class that says, you know what, things can be better here. Things don't have to be the way they are.
Exactly.
And that's basically, no matter what class you are, that's the heart of a Hooner.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
You know.
I'm glad you said that.
Yeah, that's the heart of a Hooner, is you don't have to accept things that you know in your heart and in your mind don't make logical sense, right? Which kind of brings us back to the concept of the Wayne Underwood field.
Right.
So I have done everything I possibly can. From the very beginning, the conversations were very kind and gracious, and honestly, my hope was that the county commission would take it and run it with it, and it would be their success story.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So it absolutely would have been things that political careers could have been made off of. I've made my career. I'm done.
Right.
You know, in another sector. Have no interest in any of that. And that's what I was hoping for. And even in the very first meeting, when I talked about it, I remember a gentleman from the county who's a great guy, and he said, you know, I love your optimism, but I fear that we'll have challenges over the long term. And he, you know, he'd been around long enough. He knew what was coming, and so what really has impressed me, and that I'm most proud of, is the way the community has got involved. In the first commission
Right.
meeting I went to, there were about 10 people. In this last one, there were 45 in the room and 45 on the phone calls, and would have been more had the technology worked.
Right.
We seem to have difficulties in getting technology to work.
We have that problem every once in a while.
Yep. Yeah. It's common here, right? And you know, it can happen. But the way the community is engaged and really looking to look at the facts for themselves is impressive. And you know, what I told this group of women yesterday when I talked about some of the challenges that we have, because you know, you share these stories in hopes that other women will reach out to you and say, how did you solve this problem, or you know, have you thought about
Right.
this, and help you solve your problem. And you know, I said, you know, the most often the most important thing is the journey. It's not the destination, right? So getting the community involved, having them realize who their government leaders are, that they actually can attend the commission meetings, their voice matters. In fact, their voice is the only voice that matters, right? The citizens of the county.
Exactly.
And that's an accomplishment, and I couldn't be prouder of the people in Calhoun for that.
Yes. I mean, you know, their voice has got to be heard.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, he who yells the loudest will be heard.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Truthfully.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I can think of a couple different times in the history of Calhoun County High School,
Mm-hmm.
at the old school,
Yeah.
that there was a walkout.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And the kids' voices were heard.
Sure. Yeah.
And, you know,
Yeah.
it may take this.
Yeah. Yes. And if it does, it'll be a great lesson for the children.
Yes.
Right. That's a real civics class right there. Right.
Exactly.
So, yeah, and you know, from my standpoint, at this point, we're just supporting and helping people have their opinions heard. You know, from my standpoint, what happens to that field is not about me. The
That's it.
1982 Foundation would like to help. That's all
Exactly.
that's ever been about.
Exactly.
You know, I did share with the Attorney General, I said, I have not had such challenges in giving away $500,000 before in my life. It's odd to me, and I've
Right.
done a fair amount of philanthropic endeavors, but it's odd. It's very odd, George.
Yes.
It's I'm past the point where, from my standpoint, it's it's business for me, right? Either you want to
Right.
do it or you don't want to do it. Either way's fine with me. But you're accountable to the people of Calhoun County, and they may have a different opinion.
Exactly. Exactly. And, you know, I just hope and pray that the powers that be listen to their I can't even talk right now, constituents, and take to heart what each person is saying. Because I've talked to a lot of people in the county, talked to a lot of people on Facebook from the county, and they're all, the ones that I've talked to, are all in favor of this happening. And the commission has got to start listening, close their mouths, use their ears, and start listening. That's all I can say.
Yeah, and I'm a scientist, right? So I work in
Yes.
data and I work in logic, and the data that I see is, there's one obstacle, and then there's another, and then there's another, and then we're back to the original obstacle, and then there's another, and we've gone through them all, right?
Right.
And to be honest, this matter should have been resolved in a matter of weeks, not months.
Right.
And
Not even weeks.
Not even weeks. And I can't even I can't even imagine what is then the logic behind it, right? So I think that's the questions that Calhoun citizens need to ask themselves
Exactly.
and demand answers for.
Exactly. Highly demand answers. And, like I said, he who yells the loudest will get heard. So,
And at the end of the day, right, the real powers that be, because you and I grew up hearing that. And I always ask my mom, I'm like, Mom, who are the powers that be? Can you show me a picture of them? And she's like,
exactly.
oh, no, like there's secret people. I'm like,
Yeah.
secret people? I'm like, so, and I just got to hold up on that one, right? Because the real powers are the powers that have the vote,
That's
right?
it. That's it.
And those are the people who are the powers that be. And
That's
the people
only ones
who,
that matter.
That's the only ones that matter. And the ones who are elected are there to serve them.
That's it.
And frankly, George, between you and I have yet to see much service going on.
I know. There's a lot of that needs to be looked at. And I hope people actually look at it
Yeah.
the right way.
Correct.
I want to touch on another thing. I'm so excited to see that you are actually looking at bringing some business to the state, and wherever it may end up landing. I congratulate you to that, and we need that.
Yes.
I don't care what community it goes in, it's needed in this state.
Yes.
And, when I heard that, I said, that doesn't surprise me one bit. Because you are all about home, and always have been.
Yeah.
And, this state means as much to you as it does to me. So I'm very proud to hear that, and happy for you.
Yes. And as I said to folks yesterday, you never get over West Virginia.
No.
Right? You never get over it.
No.
And,
You can take the boy or the girl
Yeah.
out of the country, but you'll never.
Right. Right.
Mm-mm.
You know, people will meet me and my husband, and they'll say, "Where you're from?" And he'll say, "From Atlanta," and I say, "From West Virginia." And they're like, "How's that work?" You know. But you know, and definitely.
I still have the problem. I'm from Calhoun.
Yes, I know. I
You-
know.
you know.
That's what I say too. And the but the other piece of it is, you know, this was very much a business decision.
Yes.
So and I'm delighted that we're going to have this opportunity to bring this business to West Virginia. And it's been, I'll tell you a little bit about that story. So it's been in the making since about April of last year. Last summer, we were doing tours from one state leader to the U.S. senators to various folks in Washington D.C. and working kind of what would be our general business strategy, funding options, et cetera, et cetera. So we spent, you know, the most of last summer doing that and meeting a lot of wonderful people and finding folks who, when they heard our pitch, were like, oh yeah, this makes a whole lot of sense, right? And along that way, we met Secretary Carmichael,
Mm-hmm.
and he and me, we were actually in the offices of Congressman McKinley, and Mitch was there, and we go through our pitch, and he's like, "This is brilliant. We want it. You know, we want it now." And I'm like, "Okay." And so, and that was with myself and my chief legal officer, and so we go back to our executive team and we're talking about this, and we looked also at other states. We looked at North Carolina, we looked at Indiana, we looked at Colorado, because we have a big workforce already in Colorado who specialize in this type of technology. There's also manufacturing sites there that are in existence and for sale that we looked at that would have been strong candidates as well. And you know, we continued on until late last year. We have a meeting in December, again with the state officials, and at my executive team's debrief of that, you know, their comment was, "No, we want to do business in West Virginia."
Right.
Right, and it wasn't my decision; it was their decision, and they have no trouble disagreeing with me. They do it on a regular basis, and but they said, you know, we see that West Virginia they get what we're trying to do. They have an understanding of what it takes to bring business, what's important. The workforce here was a key factor for us.
Yes.
It's and what people probably don't realize is that there's a big trend right now to bring high-tech jobs into rural areas, because one, you have a bit of a more isolated workforce, which sounds like, oh, that's a bad thing, but if you're in a major hub like in Raleigh-Durham for pharmaceuticals,
Right.
you can't keep people.
No.
They're paying huge signing bonus, the salaries are going through the roof, you're keeping people for 8 months, and then you're getting somebody new that you have to train. So from a business standpoint, extremely bad.
Right.
And so if you're in what companies are finding, if you can find an area that has a good workforce, good you know, good work ethic, people who understand technical matters, and you know, for us, we're in the heart of that with all these pipeliners. Those are highly technical jobs, right?
Yes. Yes.
And that skill set's easily transferable to other tech-like things, right? And I'm
Right.
not talking about computer tech, but I'm talking
Right.
about, you know, mathematical science
Right.
type things, right? And so the workforce here was really, really attractive piece of that decision. And so we're looking right now. Next week we're on a tour to look at I think 4 different sites. And then this morning alone, I think I had contacts from about 6 or 8 more. And I think what we're going to do in general is we'll probably do a briefing session that's open to interested parties in different counties, and where we go through the specs of what it is we're looking for, and see where there may be interest.
Right.
Because our mind is absolutely not made up. There's not a decision made. Folks are speculating this, that, or the other, but I can assure you that there's no decision made. And our manufacturing concept and process is going to be very innovative, something that's not been done in this particular area of generic medications that are for chronic disease. So we're working with a partner out of the East Coast who manufactures specific equipment that will allow us then to fully automate the process. So
wow.
yeah, so and then it's just a matter of training people on the equipment.
This is not just a small operation.
No.
It's going to be huge.
This is going to be huge, right?
Right.
It's going to be high volume, continuous production. It's going to be a very big concept, and it's a huge need as well.
So, I mean, what is the ultimate goal of employment?
Well, we're thinking on this particular one, it'll probably be in the neighborhood of 500 to 600 people, but we also expect that will expand. It may be at that original site, or it could be then another site.
Right.
Right? Because our concept is that we want to manufacture products, different types of products and different volumes of products requires specialized footprint. So what may be right for one group of products may not be right for the other. Right.
Right.
So that's our thoughts, and there is a absolute huge need for this. A lot of people don't realize where their medications for heart disease and blood pressure and thyroid and diabetes come from, right? Greater than 95%, probably more like 98%, come from offshore, and specifically India or China.
That's what I was going to ask you. I wasn't sure about that, but I kind of had an inkling that was the way that worked, but I wasn't sure.
Yes.
I knew you would know.
Yes. So it is a real concern for, U.S. national security. It's a real concern for, folks that we've talked to in D.C. And that's a major piece of our strategy to bring this company to fruition, is to resolve that issue.
And it should also, in the same respect, should lower the cost of some of those products as well, right?
Well, yes, and indeed it should, because a piece of it, it's a complicated web, George. So there's the manufacturing piece, then there's the distribution piece.
Right.
So, and the distribution piece is where there's opportunities to lower the cost,
right,
because there's folks who are involved in that distribution piece that really aren't adding anything to the value chain except for adding a markup, right? So wholesalers, what they call pharmacy benefit managers, et cetera, and that entire ecosystem that has been in place for a while is just about to implode upon itself, which is a wonderful thing.
Yes.
Right, because the consumer should be able to get their meds from the manufacturer without going through this stuff of people who do absolutely nothing to add any value.
That's where I was going with
That's
it.
exactly it.
And then not only that, but the offshore, the cost of shipping it.
Yeah, the cost of shipping is something, but the reason they have gone offshore is that the labor is so much cheaper. So the average operator in Bangalore, India, makes about $1.55 an hour. Right. So that just can't be. You can't compete with that here with the same technology. That's where the new technology comes in.
Right. But it's so exciting to think about, because the workforce in West Virginia, like you said, it's amazing.
Yes.
I mean, we've got great people here that work their hearts out. And they devote their time into making sure that they do the job the right way.
Yes.
And, we've got a lot of pipeliners, we've got a lot of coal miners.
Yeah.
And
there's a natural intellect, right?
Yes.
You don't put these guys out onto a pipeline, and they're building, 30-inch pipe with welds, and stuff that if it's not right, people die, right?
Exactly.
So there's a huge natural intellect here that really can do whatever you train them to do.
Exactly. And, we know, you and I know
Mm-hmm.
that, the people in this area have always worked hard.
Yes.
They put out 100% every day.
Yeah.
If not more.
Yes. For sure. For sure. Yep.
But
there's no
it's
doubt about
exciting.
it. And that's from a business standpoint, that's why it makes sense.
Yeah,
And I think
it's
honestly,
a no-brainer.
I agree. And I think there'll be other companies that will be interested in West Virginia. You've got people coming back that have some influence, like Brad Smith and others, and folks are going to be going. Look at what's happening in Columbus, Ohio.
Right.
Columbus, Ohio.
Right.
I've been to Columbus, and I'm not sure that I'd want to live there, but it can happen anywhere.
Right.
So there's a big biotech hub that's developing Columbus, Ohio. So we've got now multiple universities in the state,
Mm-hmm.
right? We've got bright students who are graduating and have to leave the state to get jobs. We've
Right.
got excellent high school educations. I would put what I see in the high school and the educational system here up against other educational systems. I think we get maybe some flack, and maybe the communication is not as good as it could be. But I've been to the Board of Education meetings in Calhoun, and what I hear is impressive for me.
Right.
So, I think we've got kids coming out of high school who are well prepared for trade development and trade organizations and trade schools. We need to do more of that. We have to develop more of the trades, or at some point very soon we're going to be in a real hurt.
Right. And, I feel that the one thing that they can look at a little more
Mm-hmm.
is expanding, like Gilmer and Calhoun Technical Center.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Expand on what they're doing
Mm-hmm.
there. And, same thing over here in Roane County and other counties as well.
Mm-hmm.
Devote a little more into those schools.
Right.
To give the kids a little more variety and be able to get a leg up,
Mm-hmm.
so to speak.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I don't know a whole lot about those. I've heard really good things about the Calhoun Gilmer one.
Yes, they do a wonderful job.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of good things there. And maybe there's an option that then there's another 1 year advanced development of welding, or development of plumbing skills, or
Right.
to develop people to service these trade industries, because one, they're good. You can make a living, you can raise a family well off of those jobs.
Exactly.
And two, college is not for and doesn't need to be for everybody. There's a lot of successful people that didn't go to college, and so I think there does need to be more focus on the trades, and that's, I know, a priority for West Virginia. It's a priority, I know, in Appalachia in general, because people are concerned about it. If we don't have electricians and plumbers and welders and people who can do this technical work, we're going to
Exactly.
it'll be a problem.
It'll be a big problem. And, not only that, but, there's a nursing shortage.
Yes.
As well.
Yes.
And, we've got to help these people get in the right,
Mm-hmm.
Get the right fit.
Right.
So to speak.
Right. Exactly.
And, it starts in the high school level.
Mm-hmm.
We've got to be
Mm-hmm.
able to give them the right tools
Mm-hmm.
to make the right choices.
Right.
So.
Right.
If that
That's
makes
right.
sense.
It does. It does, and I think a big piece of what's needed is the kids need activities, they need engagement, they need options to spend time with each other, to experience different types of activities. I think they've done a great job with their youth sports program, and that's really developing in Calhoun.
Yes.
But there needs to be more, right? When we were growing up, the social scene was the swimming pool.
Exactly. The social scene was the swimming pool, the
Yeah.
drive-in.
Yes, the drive-in.
You
Yes,
know,
exactly. Yeah.
um,
And football's on Friday night, and
guess what?
yeah,
2 of those scenes are gone.
correct.
So that's why I say the community center
Hmm.
is going to bring back a little bit of stability for these kids and let
Hmm.
them have a place to go that they know that they're safe
Right.
and that they can, you know, have a good time.
Right. Right.
And, you know, I I really hope and pray that one day that the foundation can get a swimming pool back.
Hmm.
And um, because that was a big part of my youth, and
Right.
I know it was
Yes.
yours as well.
Yes.
And you met at the pool, you talked about things,
Yep.
and everybody
Got exercise.
exactly.
Yeah.
And then everybody's all right. See you at the drive-in tonight.
Hmm. That's right.
And that was the way it was.
Hmm. Hmm.
But
Hmm.
the kids don't
yeah,
have that.
they don't, and there's a lot of mischief. There's a lot of the drug epidemic is big
Yes.
in our area. Suicide. When I came back and I hear about the suicide issues and the numbers of children on suicide watch,
Right.
my heart just breaks in two.
Exactly.
But the logical part of my brain goes, Crystal, you should not be surprised. These children have nothing to do,
That's it.
right? So if we want to make things better and we want these situations to change on the things that are not good for our children, we have to be the ones who change them.
Yeah, I would really, really love to see somebody try to do something with the old drive-in, for an example.
Hmm.
I mean, I know that it has to be completely refitted, the whole 9 yards,
Yeah,
but
I would too. I would love to see um, those girls who grew up there
yes, I would love to see
bring
that
that back.
happen. And
Hmm.
there's opportunity for them. I would
There
I
is.
would love to see them do it.
There is. There's grant monies out there.
Yes.
I'm hoping that at some point in time, I will have an opportunity to meet with them and if they're interested in that. But I think I would love to see them bring that back. And that was my first job
Yeah,
driving.
I remember that.
I was a
I
ticket
remember
seller,
that.
and those two little girls, they ran around in that kitchen and were just like hollering, and it was such. I mean, it was their childhood.
Yeah.
Right. So I would love to see them reopen that, make a great living off of that, do something that again is a day trip for people in West Virginia
Yeah.
to come and spend time in one of the only drive-ins around, right?
Yeah. I mean,
And then can come down and stay at the Airbnb then.
exactly. Exactly. And there's so much to do in this area.
Yeah.
You've just got to look for it.
Right.
And I'm excited about everything that's going on with the community center because it is so well needed throughout the county, and the folks that have shown up for like the October meeting that we had over there, and then at Christmas time was just, I mean, like I said, I was a basket case when I left both days.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, when I pulled in October, when I came over there, I came over fairly early.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And when I got there, I came around the corner and I went, wow, this looks like a football game.
Right.
That's
right.
the first thing that went to mind because there was cars everywhere.
Right.
They were parked down north side. They were parked, going back up
Yeah.
16, and it was just like, okay, this is it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
This is what is
Yeah.
needed.
Yeah, I was really surprised and delighted with the turnout too. And my son called me like about 10 o'clock and he's like, Mom, you got to get over here. There's people like spiders running around. I'm like, there's nothing I can do even if I am there, right? The spiders are still there. So, but it was a wonderful day. And we had such great support from, different folks coming out and showing their support, from Senator Manchin's office, from the governor's office. Speaker Hanshaw, and I mean, it's just
It was amazing.
People are so supportive, and they get it, right? They get it.
You know, that day in October, I can't remember the date,
I think it was the 4th.
something like
Yeah.
that. It was right around the first part of the month. I do remember that. But that day, walking around the grounds and stuff, I talked to so many people that came back
Mhm.
from other states to be there just for that day.
Right.
And that was one reason that I was an emotional wreck when I left,
Mhm.
was because, once again,
Mhm.
Hooner pride.
Right. That's right. Right. And folks think, well, it's the building that people love. No,
No.
it's not. It's that time. It's that sense of community.
Yeah.
The sense of community, interestingly enough,
That was our house.
that was our house, right? But it was a community,
Yes.
right? And and the house held a family,
That's it.
right? And then if you tie that then back to the business strategy, the number one reason why these companies are locating in rural America is because of the sense of community,
That's it.
right? So if you go to Raleigh, Durham, you don't get that sense of
No.
community because they're all transplants from other places,
Yes.
right? Here you have a sense of community. Everybody, the way people know each other is who's your daddy, right?
For years, yeah, exactly. For years, I lived in the state of Maryland, just outside of D.C.
Yeah.
And the same thing
Yeah.
applies there.
Right.
I mean, there is no sense of community. It is basically everybody for themselves,
Right.
their own selves.
Right.
And, it's like,
Right.
you don't,
Right.
you don't understand what it's like being in this area.
Yeah.
Like you said, a while ago, spent several years trying to get out of here, and then many more trying to get back.
Right.
And same with me.
Right. And I'm so glad that the corporate world has seen the value in this community, right? And in what a community brings, because don't make no mistake about it, companies like Microsoft, they've done the numbers.
Yeah.
Right? They know that bringing a one of their sites to a rural area from a business standpoint, that's more profitable for them than something else, or they would not be doing it.
Right.
Right? And I've been in discussions with a group called the Center for Rural Innovation out of New Hampshire or Vermont. I always get it confused. But they have set up 26 different rural areas with tech companies, help them make the connections, get them planted in those rural areas, and they are all being successful. So this is going to be a significant trend. And and it's not about, okay, the broadband, there's another hurdle, and yes, that's going to be fixed. That's coming. The governor has allocated the money to it. We need to make sure it's spent wisely at the local levels.
Yes.
I do have some concern about that, and that needs to be monitored by the citizens to make sure that that's handled appropriately. But that will be fixed, and the tech companies will come. And if you get tech companies, they'll run their own high-speed lines anyway.
Right.
Right? So, so it's just a matter of making those connections and getting the right, what I would say is a business-friendly environment with the local governments so that companies can come here.
Yeah. And, want to come here.
Want to come here. Correct.
And, I applaud you for bringing a little piece of your company into the state. And like I said, I hope it hits in this region. But, I won't put you on the spot because I know you're still looking for the best possible fit.
We are.
And
I will tell you, there's an attractive building on a hill not far from here.
yes, and then I know exactly, I think, where you're talking about. And I hope that that is a good possibility because, the workforce in that area, and it is great. So, I've taken a lot of your time. we've been on the air about an hour and a half.
Oh my gosh, it doesn't seem like
It
that.
doesn't seem like it. It seems like about 15 minutes,
It
but
does.
we've been going almost an hour and a half. But I've taken a lot of your time today. We'll do this many more times, I'm sure.
I sure hope so, Laura.
And you know, I just I applaud you for all the work that you and your class is doing for the community center, and I graciously applaud you for bringing some jobs, well-needed jobs, to the state of West Virginia.
It's our pleasure for sure.
So, you know, it's kind of a twofold day.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
we get to talk about the community, we get to talk about the state and the whole organization. Drew, do you have anything that you'd like to ask Crystal?
Listen, I just want to thank Crystal for coming over and donating her time and telling us the things that many people don't know about what you guys are doing over there.
Oh, wait a minute. Donation?
Yeah.
You'll get my bill later, George. Sorry.
Okay. Oh, gosh. Payroll, it's okay. No, we do thank you very much, though.
It's my pleasure, guys.
But
My pleasure.
like I said, we plan on being there on the 16th.
Yeah.
Probably about noonish, right?
Yeah. The
So-
program is at 2. That's when we'll do
Okay.
the announcements for the youth turkey hunt, the muskie tournament,
Oh,
all the events.
We never even touched on that.
Yeah.
You and I kind of talked.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, we ought to talk about
We
that.
should. So the spring fling is going to be April 15th and 16th. And there's some lead up events to that. So there is a muskie tournament, and the contact there is Travis Brady. And there's, typical muskie type rules that apply that I'm not an expert on, but there'll be some good cash awards for that, and we're hoping somebody catches a great big muskie out of the little canola there.
Exactly.
And then there's a youth turkey hunt that will be on that Saturday, because that's the day that is dedicated to the youth for turkey season. And there's already 60 kids registered for that.
Right. We had talked about that online
Mhm.
together, and you had also said that the DNR
Yes.
is planning to come.
Yes, they are. They're planning to come. There'll be lots of good prizes there, some really spectacular prizes for that turkey hunt. And those awards will be done at the 2:00 program. Other events, there'll be a 5K. There'll be a 2-day craft show like we had before on the Friday and Saturday.
Right.
There'll be a ramp breakfast brunch on Saturday, a pancake breakfast brunch on Friday, Calhoun hot dogs and Bambooster hot dog sauce on Saturday night for the Follies.
Oh,
Right? For the Follies.
you piqued my interest.
I know, right? The kids will have their bake sale to continue to develop their entrepreneurship interests. What else am I missing? There's just a lot of and then for the kids activities after the program on 2:00, we'll have the kids activities, and those activities will be centered around farm life. So we're going to have farm animals there, so kids can experience and pet farm animals. They'll get to milk some goats. They'll get to plant some strawberries and take those strawberries home with them. Sack races, egg toss, kind of a farm type thing. Hopefully a pony ride.
Fantastic.
Yeah, Cordelia will be there.
Oh boy,
Yeah.
get to meet her.
Yes.
But so for the youth that have not signed up for that turkey hunt, need to get that
They
done.
need to get that done. Yes,
And
immediately. And the same for
the muskie.
the muskie, and also there is a children's fishing tournament.
Yes, that's
Right.
what I was going to mention as
Right,
well.
that I think is, and you may know more about this, but I think it's any type of fish.
That's what I thought.
Right.
I didn't read it real
Yeah.
close, so
Yeah.
I'm not 100%.
Yeah,
on that.
and again, Travis can help with that, or Whitley Cottrell.
Right. But once again, it's been a pleasure and a lot of fun. We got to catch up on a lot of things.
We sure did.
And we'll do this many more times, I'm sure. And like I've told you, these mics are open to you or any member of the foundation at any moment and time.
Excellent. And we appreciate your guys' support. And I love what you do.
All right.
Yep.
Thank you so much. All right, we're going to get back into